All right, how's it going, everyone? My name is Umar Thabit. Welcome to the Table Talk podcast. We are joined with two amazing guests, and we are gonna let everybody come on in and watch the show because it is 7 o'clock exactly. And I just want to again say thank you to everybody that's watching or that will be watching, and a special thank you to our two guests here. I'm gonna start off with Dr. Khalid Shajera. I just want to say thank you so much for coming here. I appreciate it. And then we got Henna Mutahr as well. I appreciate you coming here today. They're both going to be sharing their thoughts on the topics that we have planned out for you. Of course, you got my big sister here, Abid Thabit. And then we hopefully will have Shema Ghalib, but her uncle Hamid just passed away. So we probably won't be expecting her today, but if she comes, I just message her and let her know that she is welcome to come on in whenever she can come. But I first want to start off the show by letting you introduce yourself, because I'm sure you can do that a lot better than I can. So Dr. Khalid, if you want to, for the people that are watching, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, Umar, I want to thank you and Abir for doing this. This is what we need in our community, ongoing communication and outreach. Because a community that is well informed is a community that can make the right decision, is a community that can make an impact. As Umar said, my name is Khalid Shajera. I was born in the U.S., went back to Yemen. My parents took me there when I was 1 year old. I stayed there, and unfortunately, almost every Yemeni experienced the same thing. At that time in the 70s, there was civil war between the old South and North. Our homes were right in the middle. So we saw the destruction and the ugliness of war, the killing, destroying homes for no reason whatsoever, because we continue to look at that 10 or 5% differences that we disagree on, and we focus on that instead of focusing on the 90%. After that, our homes got destroyed, my father brought us back in 1973. Been in the U.S. since then. Never went back to Yemen until 1998. And it was the best experience of my life because I was able to travel from Sana'a to Ta'z, to Eb, to Sa'da, to Aden. No border lines, no checkpoints. And I felt at home. And after that trip, I continued to go back. Whether it's with U.S. aid, whether it's through the Arab Chamber of Commerce, sponsoring different programs for the Yemeni people. Because we owe it to them. We are so much different than a lot of different nationalities, because Islamically it says that the Prophet taught us that when part of your body feels the ache, the entire body feels it. So we cannot turn our back on our own people. And at the same time, I was taught by my father that your neighbors are not going to be the solution for you. You got to focus on your own household, make sure you're doing the right thing. And if you do that, then you become a good citizen, you become a good neighbor, you become an asset to your community. And that's what we're trying to do. Came back to Sharon, Pennsylvania, lived there for about 5 years while my father was working, moved here in 1978, finished my high school at Forson High School, and continued with my education. I'm a proud father of 6. They range the age from 11 to 37. I am happy to tell you that I'm also a grandfather. But again, it's hard to celebrate life. It's hard to celebrate success when you see your own people starving to death, when you see your own people killed on a daily basis, and when you see foreign intervention destroying your country for their own benefits. No country in this world is going to put other countries above their own interest. So I'm hoping that with Umar and Abir, as you continue with this program, that it's a program that becomes a nucleus of educating our youth, in which we can differ, but at the same time, we can unite and sit together and come with solutions. And if they can't do it in Yemen because of the pressure that they feel from the various elements, militia groups, foreign interventions. We are the voice of the voiceless. We should be the foundation in the U.S., the youth movement of the Yemeni Americans, who will say enough is enough and come with a solution by putting enough pressure on the current administration, and the Congress, and the senators. They owe it to us. We are very active when it comes to election. They come to us on election day, on election time. They have to reciprocate. They will not reciprocate if we do not unite and go to them as one unit, as one force. Right now they're using the excuse. One group goes to them and says, stop the war. Another group says, no, open the airport. Another group says, no, increase humanitarian aid. What you guys don't realize, we're all looking for the same thing. The destination is the same location. You may be taking a different route. You may want to fly to get there. You may want to take a car. You may want to take a boat. But our goal is the same. So why not unite toward that goal and push our local representatives to come up with a resolution? We have enough people in New York, in California, not only Yemen Americans, but Arab Americans, that feel the same pain that we feel, that we can force them to come up with a resolution. Enough is enough. If the screaming of that mom that says, where's my son? If that doesn't do anything to you, it's like, do you have a heart that to feel? Do you have eyes to see the pain? Do you have the ability to hear the agony? If you don't, then you need to question yourself. Sometimes it gets emotional because we see it. We see it with our own families. We see it with people that we grew up with. So, Omar and Abir, I want to thank you for doing this. And I hope that this gets shared to as many people as possible. So when we walk away, before you do anything, you have to find out, what do I want the result to be? The result is we must unify. We must look with the voice of reason in helping our own people. Because no one else will help us if we're not willing to help ourselves.
That is true.
Dr. Khaled, that was beautiful. Thank you for that great introduction. And now I'm going to move it on to you, Henna, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And go ahead, the mic is on you.
First of all, thank you guys for having me here. I really appreciate it. And like you said, this is an awesome opportunity, especially to raise awareness for certain things, especially coming to talk about Yemen and everything like that. But my name is Henna. I'm a first-year master's student at the University of Michigan in the School of Kinesiology. I also am a content creator. I use social media, TikTok. I used to be on YouTube, not so much anymore, but I try to basically represent Yemeni women, and yeah, I just try to do the best I can to basically put our culture on.
Definitely.
You do a great job by it.
Thank you.
Yes, you did.
Definitely. And then my wife chimes in and says, go blue. So she wanted to make sure that she puts that out there. She's also a U of M grad. And then you got my sister Abir here. The conversation basically, for those that don't know, is going to be about the situation with Abdelmalik and just everything that's happening in Yemen. So, I mean, do you want something to say and prepare for right quick, just for the people that are watching, and any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, so you guys probably know who I am. I already did my introduction during the last show. But yeah, my name is Abir Thabit. I've been to Yemen 3 times. Our dad, Allah yarhamah, loved Yemen, absolutely. And it's so sad because he spent a lot of his lifetime work and money and savings to build our home in Yemen, which is, by the way, beautiful. And he wasn't able, during his last years where he thought he would go and retire and actually enjoy it. He wasn't able to do that. And it breaks my heart, and that's just one part about it, obviously. But we loved Yemen, when we'd go visit. It was fun. We had family. We felt safe. But would I go now? No, I wouldn't. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to get a little bit more knowledge on what's happening in Yemen. I want the people to understand what's happening in Yemen, and I want the youth to know what we can do, to help Yemen, because a lot of us feel like we can't really do anything, you know? So we want to learn just a little bit more about what we can do and how we can better our country.
Yeah, and I could second that. I just want to say two things about that situation. First of all, starting off with the conversation with Yemen and her mentioning my dad, Allah yarhamah, he always talked about us about Yemen and instilled in us that, you know, that is your country and you should love your country and care about your country. And we want people out there to know that there is a generation that cares about the country. We do, we sincerely do, and we want to help as best as way we can so that we can make sure we bridge that gap between the first generation that came into America and the second and third generation of people. So that's why people like Dr. Khalid here is very important, because you do help us in that cause by educating us. Because that's what the answer is being educated. That's the first step. Be knowledgeable about what's going on, so then we can figure out what's the next step. How can we help the situation? So with that said, before we start talking about the topics, you know, we do have sponsors that I want to give a shout out to. So first and foremost is Leo's Coney Island in Royal Oak. Their location is 110 South Main Street, Royal Oak, Michigan. So if you're ever in the Leo's Coney Island area, just want to mention, it is Yemeni owned, by the way. They serve delicious American style food. They're known for their Coney's, fried chicken gyro, breakfast chili. You know, Leo Coney's have been around for a very long time, but to me, the best Leo's of them all is the one in Royal Oak. Thank you, Umar Al-Hadimi. Thank you to everyone there. Great service, by the way. Great people over there at Leo's Royal Oak. And so I'm going to start off with you now, Dr. Khalid. And the first question that I want to know, because I'm sure you're very educated on the topic, is what exactly happened with the Abdelmalik, and I want to make sure I say his last name, Alsanabani situation. And can you, like, for someone that may have never heard about it, can you break it down from like the beginning and now where we're at right now?
Yeah. So Allah yarham Abdelmalik Alsanabani.
Allah yarhamah.
I sit here and I look at your faces, and he's about the same age.
Yeah.
He's the only boy of the family. He came, from our understanding, when he was about 15, 14, 16 years old. I don't know if you were able to follow or look at his Facebook page. It's actually still on, under Abdelmalik Alsanabani in Arabic. And when you watch him, it's like you're watching a teenager growing in the U.S. You know, it's a smile in his face. It's a celebration of life. He's talking about things he wants to do. In the one video that caught my eye was, like, he's pleading with his followers, you know, please comment, you know, I'm going to do a Facebook page, even wherever I am, and please comment, be nice, say something nice to me. That's the kind of person, you know, there's no bitterness, there's no hate, there's no ideology impacting him, you know. And then he was so excited about going to Yemen that he actually recorded this.
Yeah, I seen some of his vlogs.
Yeah. And he's recording, you know, when he got to United Arab Emirates and with his face mask, and then he's saying, you know, my Yemeni brothers, you know, Khaluli Zuwa, you know, make a spot for me.
Oh my God,
You
it's
know?
giving me goosebumps.
You know, you know, for the gathering, you know, because he knows that our tradition is that when you've been gone that much. Now, some people say 8 years, you know, 7 years, that's not too long. But you have to remember, when you're in your 20s, 7, 8 years is a long time. It's almost half of your life.
Yeah.
Okay. And tragedy is that, you know, you get different stories. But the end result is he got to Aden. And from what we have seen, because there's been pictures all over, people start taking pictures of Abdelmalik as he arrived in the airport.
Yeah, I seen that.
Yes. Pictures of his pockets, that, wow, this guy is loaded, he's got money. Pictures of even poor kid, Allah yarhamah. He's carrying a bag and it happens to be green from the outside. So they're like, you know, this guy's a Houthi.
Oh my God.
So they've
And-
been following him.
Yeah, and so they've been following him. And what happened is, unfortunately, because our government, the Yemeni government, and the people that are in the decision-making positions, they have left Yemen to be where it's at. That is, it's divided. So you have an Aden controlled by what they call the separatists. They call them as al-intigaliyin. These are people who are from the south, and they want to be separated. They felt or they feel that the unity didn't do them any justice, and that people from the north came and just took all the resources, took away positions from them, because unity was something that was agreed on from both sides in 1990. But then in 1994, the war erupted, and the South ended up losing that. So, to be fair, I'm from the North, okay? But I don't believe that our brothers in the North were fair after the war, because they took away a lot of the positions from the people in the South. Now, they say, well, this was a war, and how could you trust someone to be still in the military if you just had a war with him? So they try to justify that. But still, the land, and there were things that were they're just not just. The problem is, injustice didn't just happen in South Yemen. There's injustice throughout the country.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's the powerful, the one who's well connected, tribe-wise, are the ones that end up taking what they want.
Right.
Okay.
I was going to ask you, are the leading positions, are they, because of who they know, or is it their qualifications? And
Yeah.
most of the time, it's who they know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish it was based on qualifications. Yemen is made up of different political parties, okay? And I know a lot of people, especially those ones who are affiliated with political parties, are going to disagree with me, and it's okay. It's okay to disagree. But their loyalty is to the party, okay? In the way some of these people are so obligated to their political party that they cannot do anything wrong. And we know that nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. We all say, oh, I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I didn't say that, But in their mind, the way they corrupt them is that you become part of this party and that you have to obey and follow, and we cannot do anything wrong. So, first of all, whoever is the one that is the most loyal is the one, in most cases, that gets the highest position. Okay?
Which equals the highest pay, probably.
Highest pay,
Yeah.
yep. And that's one aspect of it. But right now, where Yemen is, because it's really controlled by foreigners, okay? You've got the Gulf states, you've got Iran, you've got the US, you've got so many different players. And each group is looking for who's going to give me the most so I can guarantee my existence, okay? And whether it's money, whether it's military. So separatists in the south, they became loyal to the United Arab Emirates, because the United Arab Emirates, they have their own goals. They want the resources of South Yemen. They do not want Aden port, which used to be historically one of the best in the world back in the 20s and 40s and 50s, and that's why the British hang around so much in South Yemen,
Yeah.
because it was a gateway to the world.
Is that around Socotra? I'm sorry if I'm not.
Yeah, so
okay.
yeah, but Aden is right by the Red Sea.
Okay.
Okay, so what happened there is that, and you can see now the history. Each of these countries, they came in not because they love the Yemeni
Oh, of
people.
course not.
Yeah. Not because, they want to help these poor Yemeni people. It's like, what's in it for me? How much can I get out of this country? And who are the people I can get to follow me to accomplish my goals? So the United Arab Emirates pick the people from the south because they are in the south. The people in the south, the separatists, they love that because they felt like they've been orphaned. Because they always want a separation, but no one will listen to them. And it's not in the interest of the West, the way they see it, or anyone to have more divisions in more countries to deal with. Okay? So, but the United Arab Emirates says, whoa, we got someone that they want to be separated, so we'll support them, and now we can own them. Now we can accomplish our goals through them. So that's one side. These are the people that control Aden. So when Abdul Malik arrived at the airport, they were already observing him. So as he left Aden in different checkpoints, the people, from our understanding, what we saw, the people at the checkpoints already got all the information they need about him. His pictures, the green bag, the fact that.
So I'm sorry, this is a dumb question, but the green, what does that represent? You said.
Well, the Houthis' logo
Okay.
is green.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So.
And so this all happened when he arrived. So
Correct.
he was not even there in Yemen for more than, I'm assuming, a day.
Yeah, I mean, from our understanding, is that he just arrived at the airport, and
crazy.
it's what's unfortunate is that our brothers in the South, what they went through, they're blaming every person from the North. The problem is, 99% of the people in the North were oppressed, just like them. Land and assets were taken away from them, just like them. So they're all in this. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
The elites and the people that ruled Yemen for so many years, they're the ones who are basically who took all the resources, and at the same time, you don't find their kids in war.
Yeah.
You find their kids in the U.S., you find their kids in Europe, you find their kids in United Arab Emirates, you find their kids all over the world, throughout universities. They themselves don't even live in Yemen. So, Shari'ah, that we say, the legitimate government, and how did they get that name? When Ali Abdullah Saleh left, they said the vice president is going to be the president, and that the majority of the people voted for him to continue to be the president. But it was only temporary until they have an election. Now, we're talking 2011. So to them, temporary is, we're going into our 11th year, that's temporary. Problem is, the guy doesn't have enough support to live even in Yemen. He's living in an airport, at a hotel in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, with all of his ministers. So how could you live in a different country
And lead.
and how could you make the decision for that country when you're living under Saudi Arabia who are telling you what to do about your country? That's one aspect of it.
That's crazy.
The other aspect is the Southerners, the separatists, they are owned by the United Arab Emirates, just like Abdul Bahadi and his group are owned by the Saudis. So there you see that their families, like most of them, where they live in the United Arab Emirates. And their kids are fine. And basically, like you said, how could you make decisions on your country when you're not even living there? And as an example, Hani bin Break is supposed to be the new vice president for the Southern movement when they do the government. But if you look at Twitter, I don't know if he changed it, and instead of having the people of Yemen or the flag of even the separatist flag, he's got the picture of the leader of the United Arab Emirates.
It's messed up, man. There's a lot of messed up things. And I guess if you want to finish off now with the Abdelmalik situation,
Yes, yeah.
basically, of what happened with him then. So basically, he got caught up at a checkpoint.
Yeah, he got caught up by the checkpoint, and like any young man, he tried to run away. He tried to escape. We've been hearing so many different stories.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, 3 crimes were infected on this young man. Number 1, they held him hostage. Number 2, they stole his money and asset. And number 3, they killed him. Okay. There's no if or but about that. Now, who is responsible? They know who is responsible because each checkpoint is manned by specific individuals. It's not like it was randomly done.
Yeah.
People came from with a car, bunch of cars, picked them up, and nobody knows who it is. There's accountability. So the people that are manning this checkpoint, they report to someone who reports to someone. Now, we're not only asking for those people that did the crime, the people that supports them, the people that continue to encourage them, and the people that they reported to. And I want to make this very important. We're not doing this because Abdul Malik is from the north. If the same thing happened from a brother from the south, somewhere in the north, we are going to be as vocal as we are now. No Yemeni, no Arab, no Muslim, no human being deserves the right to die when all he's doing is he just cannot wait to be with his mom.
That's ridiculous.
His mom is in Yemen.
His mom is in
So
Yemen.
he visited Yemen to see his mom.
To see his mom. That's all he was doing. And then, so to finish Abdelmalik Alsanabani, so they killed him. Then with social media these days, you can't hide a lot. You can't hide too many
It's a
things.
blessing and curse at the same time.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So with that, they start showing pictures. Pictures. Wait a minute. Look when he arrived. Look what happened. Why are they taking pictures? So all this start coming out. Okay. And I got to tell you though, to be fair, the brothers in South Yemen, most of them, 99.9% of them, are against this crime. And they're saying these criminals must be brought to justice. And it's the right thing. Okay. So I want to make it very clear. I'm against anyone from the north saying we should go and do the same thing to the people of the south. No. The people of the south didn't do that. It's certain individuals who are criminals. Okay. And we have to remember that. In order to heal the wounds, we have to make sure that people that create those wounds are accountable, and we cannot widen that wound by continue to do the same thing that others are doing to the wrong people.
Yeah. To the innocent. Because that's what
Exactly.
ends up happening. The innocent people are the ones that get hurt.
Yeah, and so Henna, I want to just ask you basically, I'm sure you did your research on the situation and kind of, I don't know if you want to piggyback off of some of the things that Dr. Khalid was saying, or if you have heard something differently as well, because people obviously want to hear also what you have to say as well. So.
Right. So, I mean, he basically said majority of the story, but, I mean, my experience, I recently just came back from Yemen, so I understand, like, the checkpoints. So after he left Aden, right, he entered, so he wasn't really in Aden anymore, he entered another governorate called Nahj, I believe that's how you
Yes.
say it, yeah. So, in the checkpoint in Tor al-Baha, that's where the checkpoint was, and like he said, they had already been like kind of tracking him and seeing like where he's been, and I mean, like any American traveler, any tourist in general, you'd carry money on you. I mean, I don't know what the surprise is about that. I mean, a lot of people are saying this too, but I kind of agree with them. I don't really think they think he was a Houthi. They probably just like wanted to steal his money, rob him. I don't know, like. The story just doesn't add up. They've been stalking him since he landed in Aden. I mean, to be fair, no Houthi is gonna just be walking around the streets of South Yemen just like that, especially going around with a green bag. Like, they're not gonna flex like that. It's not normal, nor is it safe for them to do that. I mean, from my experience, what the taxis would do is, so he's from Damad, so Alsanabani is from Sanaban, and that's in Damad, and so that's basically about north central Yemen. I mean, it's basically north, and you wouldn't tell the checkpoints, yeah, I'm going to Sana'a, or I'm going to Damad, or Al Bayda. You wouldn't say that. You would more likely say, yeah, I'm going to Ib first, because if you tell them you're going to Sana'a or whatever, they're gonna start questioning you, like, why, you know. Luckily, when I traveled, it was my mom and I and my aunt, so it was mostly women. They don't really question women. As soon as they see women, they just let them go.
I heard that.
Yeah, but with men, like, they ask questions. Not only that, a Houthi is not going to travel by himself. I mean, let's just be real, like, it's just common sense. I feel like there's just more to the story. Like, they definitely, like, there was a different motive, scheme going on, because Houthi wouldn't just travel by himself out there, you know, thinking he's safe. It's just not like that.
Do you think it was something maybe random that just happened to happen, and then they later figured out, like, oh my God, we made a big mistake because this guy is from America and now it's out there, and why did we just do this? Or do you think there's a deeper motive?
No, actually, it's very deep.
Okay.
A month ago, same situation. A young man by the name of Fahd Al-Riyashi, who I know his parents was studying in Germany. And he's got a Facebook page, I guess, and he argued with a friend of his who happens to be from the South. and another young man. And but the young man knows people who works at the airport. So as soon as he arrived at the airport, they took him, and he disappeared. No one knows where he's at. And he was going to get married. So his family in the north, like, where is Fahd? They don't know where he's at. So they called the people in Germany, when did he leave? So they tracked him down that he actually did arrive in Aden. So they reached out to me. Brother Dr. Dahan al-Najjar helped us. And a lot of people got involved. Okay. And these are only cases that you hear about. Okay. So finally they found him in jail. Okay. And what we found out was exactly that. There was a guy that he went at it with verbally in Germany, and that guy knows people who works at the airport. I don't know what he told them. And the last thing they said is that he was a terrorist and that he was gonna, blow out some buildings and do things like that. The kid,
Making up,
Yeah.
excuses.
so, by the way, I'm getting messages that people are trying to get in, and for some reason it's not opening up. I don't know.
Okay, it's on YouTube, OzMedia313. We have people watching and people are commenting. So all they got to do is search up OzMedia313 on YouTube. It's starting to pop up. More people are watching. We're live, So
Okay.
I don't know if they have to go to the specific channel or not. But there's people watching right now. OzMedia313 on YouTube. I'll go ahead and type that in. But I was gonna ask you, Henna, while he's doing that. You mentioned that you recently just came back from Yemen.
Yeah.
So how was your overall experience?
Okay, so before going to Yemen, I was really anxious and scared because, every time we talk to somebody that's been back in Yemen, they say, yeah, alhamdulillah, everything's good. But, is it though? I was just unsure of the situation, and I was traveling with my mom. Is it safe for women to go and travel, by themselves? And, the thing is, I've seen plenty of people already traveling back and forth, women, men, going by themselves, and they were fine. So I'm it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But the issue was we needed to go to Sana'a, and the only airport that was open is the Aden airport and Seyun, but Aden was the best option for us. So prior to traveling, it was a lot of, nerves and anxiety. But then once we actually got there, and then my aunt and uncle and my cousin had told us they're already in Aden, so I'm okay, good, at least we'll have somebody with us. And I thought we were just gonna travel right away, and they were no, we're gonna stay because it's a really long trip. And if you look through Google Maps or whatever, and you try to see the distance between Aden and Sana'a, it's not that far, but there aren't really roads that you can drive on now. So let's say the original distance was 6 hours. A long time ago it used to be not that far. I'm sure you can agree to that. Now probably take more than 12, 14 hours just to get there.
Just because of the different spots that are closed up now.
And the checkpoints and everything stops people. We're literally traveling through rocks and mountains, and just to avoid the area.
I just remember Naqir Samara. That's what I remember.
There's this you have to avoid, because there's a current civil war going on in Yemen right now, so you have to avoid that area, and so you just have to drive through the mountains to get there. Like I mentioned previously too, the checkpoints, you just have to tell them you're going to Ib, keep going until once you're in Ib, and then you say Taiz. Once you're in Taiz,
That's
you're
wild.
fine
You can't even go where you want to go.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling to me.
And then there's checkpoints every 15 minutes, maybe every 30 minutes. There's a checkpoint.
I have a question. I'm sorry. Okay, so the problem is the fact that there's only, like you said, well, you mentioned 2 spots where we can land, but it's in Aden. So the people that are from the north, it's harder for them because of the issues that are happening, or because of the, conflict between the north and the south.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I wanted to finish because you asked if this is random or does
Yeah.
it happen that often, and I only mentioned Fahd Riyashi. So now it's beginning to come out. There were others, about 4 or 6 students that came from Indonesia or Malaysia. These are all students.
Yeah.
You're talking, these are the
Bright futures.
Yeah, the cream of the crop. These are students who go overseas to get their education, and they get back, and this is what happens to them. So, but these are only cases that we know of. What I'm afraid and terrified of are the ones that don't have a voice, are the ones that don't have people to fight and to scream and to say, wait a minute, and to bring it up. And a lot of people are saying there's so many, many cases. Now, with your question, because they closed all the airports, the only airport that they are allowing to open is the one in Aden. So, for example, if I happen to be from Rada, which is all the way up in the north, or Sada, and I want to go and visit my family, the only place I can go through is Aden. So when I get to Aden, it's not, it's now overcoming flying fear, but it's like, do I want to land?
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you land, that's when really the trip starts.
That's crazy.
Okay. And so when you land, and as Omar mentioned, you've got different checkpoints. The problem is these checkpoints are not all treeing up to the same organization or the same individuals.
Oh my God.
That's big.
Yeah, these are different checkpoints, and each, because whether we like it or not, Yemen is now ruled by militias. Okay? So each of these checkpoints has nothing to do with the checkpoint before. So, for example, you just drove 10 miles and you went to a checkpoint, they did a complete check, you're fine. And instead of giving you a pass that we've checked all this, so you can go through all these checkpoints, or call on that checkpoint that this car with this plate number is good, let them go. That next checkpoint don't care, don't want to know, they have a different agenda,
Different motive.
different motive. They have nothing to do with the other checkpoint. It's like, what am I going to get from you now?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like before, I used to slip them a little bit of money here and there, and you're good. But
They still do that too. I mean, if you don't want problems, you could just sneak in a little bit of money. But
that's crazy.
not
Yeah.
many people want to give money away.
And we're going to talk about all that, the corruption, the wars, the famine, the sanitation, and just everything that's happening. So kind of to wrap up the Abdelmalik situation is what can be done, if anything, so something like this doesn't happen again with anybody that travels. Because when I hear this, it pretty much tells someone like me, and I'm sure somebody that's listening, kind of like a situation, or even any ladies that are, educated and want to go back to their country and visit it. It's pretty much saying, you shouldn't. I should not go back there. Why would I do that? I have a family. That's the last thing I want to deal with.
You're
So,
taking a risk.
you tell me, I guess, what can be done so this doesn't happen again. I guess bring comfort to people like myself or people that are listening.
Yeah. So, throughout history, some crimes happen, and it creates such a movement that it's the beginning of change. We saw that with what happened in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're asking, first of all, there's different things that are happening. Number one, we continue to support and pay for attorneys over there to bring these people to justice. There must be a message that is loud and clear that if you're a criminal and you committed a crime, you will pay for it. And if it means someone from all the way 5,000 miles away in Dearborn, Michigan, or in Hamtramck, Michigan, is going to follow up and pay the attorney fees, we will do that, and you will pay. That's number one. Number two, we are hoping that Abdelmalik Alsanabani becomes a point where the Yemeni youth said enough is enough, and gathered and put enough pressure, as I mentioned before, on their local representatives to make this a point. But at the same time, we want them to take ownership of Abdelmalik Alsanabani. Right now, Abdelmalik Alsanabani is dead. He does not have any brothers that will champion his cause. So we must be the ones that would champion his cause. By us championing his cause, Omar, we are championing the cause of every Yemeni past victim, present victim, and future victims. And if we do that, then we have accomplished what we need to do for Abdelmalik Alsanabani. No one throughout the country of Yemen has the right to kill another human being because he's got money, because he came from a foreign country, or because he does not believe every single thing that that person believes. We live in the U.S. where it's the law, the rule of law, not the rule of man. Even if I commit a felony and I am doing speeding and they give me a ticket, I still argue with the police officer here in the U.S. I still have the right to go to court and challenge it. But if I go to my own native country to see my parents, to see my relatives, that I go there and they kill me. And they continue to do it. They will continue to do it if we don't stand up and do things like this.
What are your thoughts? What do you think can be done? What would make you feel comfortable about going back to Yemen, or people that you know that feel the same way?
So I say open the Sana'a airport. I mean, I can't stress this enough. Nobody wants to travel like 12, 14, sometimes even like more, depending on how long they stop you at the checkpoints, just to get to Aden, you know, just to travel or like get there or leave. It's just too much. And I think if they open the Sana'a airport, I think it'll be safer for people to travel, especially if they live in the north, especially for young men. I mean, women, like, we get away with a lot of things, like they just, you know, like I mentioned before, if they see women, they just let them go. But for younger men, opening the Sana'a airport is going to give them a little bit of protection if they live in the north.
How about you, Abed? What do you think? What would make you comfortable? Because I know you just said earlier you wouldn't want to go back to Yemen anytime soon. So what would make you comfortable about going back to Yemen?
Oh, I don't know. Yemen needs so much help. It needs so much help. It's scary because at the end of the day, if I wanted to go to Yemen, I would never go alone. I would have to go with one of my brothers. But I'm scared for my brothers. You know, I'm scared for them to go through anything that is even close to death. You know, so I guess opening the other airports, better leadership, like more. I want them to be able to come together and actually lead the country the right way and not let other outsiders lead the country. But, like, you know, obviously that's, like, far-fetched. But maybe, because I see that we have so many smart Yemeni, you know, Americans. Mm-hmm. And if there's a way that we can reach out to our country or we can try to help lead our country, but, you know, there's pride and there's history and then there's culture and there's so much greed and, you know, all of that together. But Yemen needs a lot of help, and we need to step up.
Yeah, and definitely, I feel like, you know, I hope that people that are watching, feel free to, by the way, comment. There are people that comment, and some of it is in Arabic, so I'm not going to sit here and try to pronounce it, but, you know, feel free to ask questions. But, yeah, honestly, overall, I just think that, you know, this is a sad situation, and, you know, our parents have built from ground up Yemen, grew up in Yemen, and for them to see it, like my dad, every time I used to ask him, you know, he should just tell us, you know, his heart hurts because of what's happening in Yemen.
And mind you, Allah yarhamah, my dad never, ever, ever, ever explained the North and the South and the division. He never, we were Yemeni because we're Yemeni.
Yeah.
There was nothing else. We are Yemeni.
We had to learn
Honestly.
about it on our own.
Yeah,
We
like
never
literally
mentioned
people
this
go, where are you from? I'm like, Yemen. We live in Sana'a, and you know, my dad's from Ba'dan. Like, you know, it's just, we didn't, like, the division, that was never even taught in our home, you know? And it's sad because in other homes, they're like, oh, they'll bring up stuff and bring up all the division. I'm like, bro, we're all Muslims at the end of the day. We're all Yemeni. Like, we should be helping each other. Like, it shouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I grew up, you know? So it's sad to see that there's actually, like, it's it's deep. It's really deep, and it's scary. Because as Muslims, there shouldn't even be a difference between anything, you know? So.
And so that kind of leads me to my next question, and I'm going to ask you now, Dr. Khalid, and talking about that, with the deep history of pride, which is not always a good thing, with all the wars, with the famine, with the sanitation issues, the inconsistent leadership, it's always a different person in the lead. So what's going to happen to our country of Yemen, I guess, if we don't start tackling these issues? Because that's what crosses my mind. I know it's kind of hard to be thinking, like, you shouldn't think that way, but you have to in a way when you see so many. Like if I just named off one of those things, that's a big problem. There's like 6, 7 problems going on, you know? And within those problems is a deeper problem. So like, where are we trending is what I want to ask you. Like, where are we trending?
Yeah. Before I get to that, Hannah, I think, brought a really good point when you asked the question as far as, about the airports. I think what needs to happen for Yemen, 3 things. Number one, all airports, all ports needs to be open immediately. So if someone in a specific area does not have to travel and go through all these checkpoints to get to their home, that's number one. Number two, the war needs to stop. You can patch things, but if the war and the bombs continues, you're just patching things. So then,
I was gonna say which war are we talking about? Because I feel like there's a couple of them happening right now in Yemen.
yeah, the major war is really between the Houthis and those who are against the Houthi.
Okay.
Okay, and I say it, and a lot of people disagree with me. This is America. I'm not going to get killed, hopefully. It's a war between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and they're just using the Yemeni people as equipment.
And they're using Yemen as a playground.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep. So, to answer your question, this is the war. Number two, we need to lobby humanitarian aids. I'm not talking about building the country because the infrastructure and everything is already destroyed. I'm talking basic needs. For the first time in my life, people that I know that used to be well off or what we call middle class are now asking us, please send me money to buy food. These are people that used to help others. So right now, it's opening all the airports, all the ports, stopping the war, and humanitarian aids. After that, see, you gotta have peace first. And then we're asking the US, we're asking our government, because we know they have leverage over all these different players, to bring all these different parties into a table just like this. And to say, and we're hoping that these political parties in Yemen stop, always tying yourself up to these old timers who already have so much personal hate among them.
Yeah.
They're in their 60s and 70s. They are not the solution. If they were, we would not be in the position where we are at now. Start looking at the youth. Don't have the hate, the animosity, the big egos that wants only me or there is no other solution. And let those people come together. We cannot have peace and rule Yemen. No one side can rule Yemen. It must be a coalition, and you respect all different viewpoints, just like here. Leave it for the people of Yemen to elect who they want. And then, after that, we are asking for the West and the world to rebuild Yemen. From the infrastructure, from highways to bridges to water, so at least our next generation is not struggling. What we're afraid of now is that we are creating a generation of confrontations and violence. If you want something, you get it by force. If you want something, you kill someone and you get it. And if we continue in that circle, it's all downhill, and we have not seen nothing yet.
Like savages.
Yeah, so Henna, I'm gonna ask you, with all the things that are going on, from your viewpoint, where do you see Yemen, I guess, in the next 5-10 years if we don't tackle these issues?
So I've actually seen exactly what you said with my own eyes. I think if we don't kind of tackle what's going on now, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but our country will collapse, in every way possible. From it's kind of as weird as this sounds, what's going on in Yemen as far as mental state is kind of, or political state is kind of like the same thing as America in a way, where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because they're over there, unfortunately, like you mentioned as well, people that used to be middle class are now asking us to donate and give them money just to pay for their water, electricity, food, whatever it may be. I mean, I think Yemenis have the best hospitality in the Arab, world. So whenever, for example, when I was there, one of the workers, if he wanted food, he would just come knock on the door and ask for food. food like is usually like anybody would be willing to help and give you food, you know. But as far as like having money to pay for your electricity, your water, and like all the other things, paying for your family, like that's where they're struggling with now. And I think if we don't like raise awareness, raise money, not just donating to like big organizations, but even donating to like people that are visiting or trustworthy, of course, or nearby, like individuals that are available in like neighborhoods and stuff like that, giving money to nearby neighbors and homeless people. I think that would be more effective, just because like they just need all the help, honestly.
Before I pass on the question to you, because I've heard humanitarian aid from you and I've also heard the help, which I'm now going to move on to our next sponsor of the show, which is Give to Gain. Give to Gain is actually a non-profit organization that sponsors orphans in Yemen. 100% of all their donations goes to the less fortunate. They appreciate everyone that donates because this could not have been happening without any of us, that is. They want to make sure that they share that. We know the family who prefers not to be named.
They're very reliable.
Very reliable people. So this is a great way. I love them for putting this together, and there's a guy that wanted to sponsor for me on the show, and he said let's use Give to Gain as the sponsorship just so we could raise awareness for Yemen. So if you want to Venmo, it's at Give to Gain. Zelle, the number is 313-445-8638, and then Cash App, the money symbol, Give to Gain. If anybody out there is watching, trusts me or my sister, we can vouch for the people that are giving. They constantly do great things in the community, and this just happens to be one of them. So I want to ask you now the same question. If things don't change in Yemen with all the stuff that's going on, where do you see it in the next 5, 10, 15 years down the line?
I honestly see it, the population decreasing.
Because of people leaving?
People leaving, people dying, people not getting enough aid, support. I don't know, it's not a good look, honestly. I would love to be able to, visit Yemen and, have our kids see Yemen and, keep our traditions and keep our country alive. But at this rate, it's only getting worse. It's so scary because the last time I was in Yemen was in 2008 and everything was like amazing.
Yeah, people say those are good years.
Yeah, it was, and in 2011, that's it. And I don't know, like honestly at this point, I don't see it really thriving unless we do something.
And people might wonder why Yemen. And so Yemen, by the way, is the largest humanitarian crisis and aid operation in the world, not just in the Middle East. In the world, 5 million people are at risk of famine, and these are just numbers that people are getting. Who knows? It might be even more. 15 million people need water or sanitation support. So these are just a few facts that I've gathered together just off of Yemen. I'm sure you know some more things about Yemen and stuff like that. But going back to you now, Dr. Khalid, and kind of going back, I know you kind of talked about already what can people do. But if someone's watching and they say, okay, I want to help. They wake up tomorrow morning. What can they do tomorrow if they wanted to do something?
Okay. So, first of all, Omar, thank you. And as far as the non-for-profit organizations, I encourage everyone to give. I just don't want it to be like we just pass through it and not really understand the impact here. We get news where, first of all, what happens with wars? Who get killed? It's the man. What do they leave behind? Children. What we're finding out is that children, there's pride in Yemen. You would starve to death inside your house before you go out and beg. So what we're finding out in the past several years is that these orphans in these remote villages, they would wait until night and they would go through the garbage and pick up garbage to eat. I mean, that's how I want you to envision. I don't want, you just passing saying, give to this organization. No, it's not just give. It is our responsibility. No child in Yemen, no orphan in Yemen should wait until people go to sleep and they go through the garbage to see what they can eat. So think about that. Now, I'm going to ask the question of what can we do? There are many great organizations, and I don't want to name any because I may not name all of them.
Yeah. There is a lot, and I honestly, the past couple of years, you've seen so much, and it's, you know, it's nice, it's beautiful.
So, and I'm always the servant for any Yemeni organization that want me to speak, to travel at my own expense, and I've done that, and I'm sure you guys will be willing to also. The goal here is that don't listen to those naysayers, because there's some, they will always be there. Your money doesn't go to the orphans. Your money, half of it is stolen. If you don't trust anyone, sometimes it's human nature. It's within us. Some people just don't trust. Don't use that as an excuse not to give. Okay? Reach out to your family members in that village. Because remember, every household is impacted. And if you don't want to give through any organization, please give. Send to your family members that you trust. And send it to them and say, please give it to the poor and the needy. Throughout major and minor cities, they are now creating these bakeries. So it's an existing bakery.
Yeah, I heard
Mercy Baker?
Yeah, so there's different bakeries. So as an example, a group of came to me and said, we want to give, but we want to give directly. So we connected them, and they even named us the area where they want to give to. So we connected them to a bakery there, in which they said, okay, we want to sponsor 50 orphans a month, but we want to do it our way. So they said, okay, well, what's your way? They said, we will pay you. We don't need to invest in building a bakery. You already have a bakery. So you already have the fixed costs already there. So we want to know how much does it cost to feed 50 families. They agreed on a price, and they said, okay, we want you to do a coupon book. In that coupon book, you give it's one page for each day. So it's a coupon book made of 3 pages. And you give the whole book to the family, and then the mom, she doesn't want to go through the village walking through with guys and things like that, so she sends a relative, a neighbor, or her own kid with the coupon for that one day. He goes to the bakery, he gives them the coupon, and they fill with food. And that is, bread, and they give them water, just what's needed.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And
It's a start.
It's
definitely
a start. At least you're eliminating starvation.
Yeah. Which no one should ever starve at any point in their lives. So I guess now moving on to you, Henna, is the same question. Are there things that you want to share about what can people do or help Yemen or anything like that? Or what do you want to do to help Yemen as well, maybe, if you want to add that?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like we've definitely hit on all the points that is needed to be done. Just continue to donate, raise awareness is important, because I mean, people will say, yeah, like we know, Yemen is starving, but like they don't really understand like the backstory or other things that's going on. It's not just starvation, they're struggling with other things too. Raising awareness, donating to nonprofit organizations, and even like trustworthy individuals like mentioned. And yeah, things that I would do, honestly I would go back to Yemen. I think I had an amazing experience, but I would definitely like kind of
I'm coming with you next time.
for sure. No, seriously, like
Would you feel comfortable? Do you have a brother?
Yeah.
You have brothers? Would you feel comfortable them going to Yemen?
So, okay, we wanted to like go back and visit, especially because with my grandpa still being around, we wanted to go back and see how his life is in Yemen before something happens. But after the whole like Alsanabani incident, honestly, like it is kind of scary. But then again, if you travel in groups and make sure like you're taking all the precautions you can, I mean, yeah, I would.
Was he alone? Was he alone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you want to do in terms of what do you feel like people can do if they can somehow, some way help Yemen? Some organizations that you've heard of, and what do you personally think about doing to help out the situation?
You should always give. Look up non-profit organizations. There's a lot of younger females that are like baking and giving back to Yemen, that are having like they're getting together and they're having different venues and they're selling and the profits go to Yemen. Just finding any way to give back to Yemen. Money, especially if you have people in Yemen on the ground that know people that need it, that's where like I feel like the biggest bang for your buck will be, Also, not just highlighting the negative, letting people know that the stuff that's happening in Yemen, that is not Yemen-like. That's not how our people are. You know what I'm saying? Just showing the positive part of Yemen, showing like how it really was and how we can get back to there, So just raising awareness, giving back to wherever you can give back, and just highlighting the positive and trying to let people understand that it was a beautiful country, and
like changing the narrative. Basically.
Yeah, basically.
And I kind of want to add on to that because that's kind of what I did when I was in Yemen. So
you guys need to check out her TikTok. Like, every story that she would post, it gave back so much memories. It was so nostalgic. Like I was like, oh my god, I remember when it's beautiful.
I wanted to add to what you said. It's really important to like change the narrative and not just talk about the negative but the positive too. So like I mentioned before, like prior to going to Yemen, I had a lot of anxiety, right? But then as I was there, I'm like, oh, it's not really that bad. So like, why not? Let me just record like what's going on. My first video was just literally recording my morning routine. And that just blew up out of nowhere. And I was like, I really didn't post anything. I just posted going to the bathroom, showing how the bathroom is, and then going to the kitchen, seeing how the kitchen is, and going to the dining table, seeing how that is. Everybody was just so intrigued and like, wow. And so I just kept posting about it, and a lot of Yemenis were like, wow, like I didn't think Yemen was actually that cool. And it's funny, like alhamdulillah, I'm glad to say this, but a lot of the younger generation that are going back to Yemen say they went back because of me, like because of the videos that I were posting, because at first they were unsure, like, is it safe? Is it like fun? Is it like, they had so many questions, and I kind of answered those questions for them. And another thing too, actually, when I was in Yemen, I was part of a non-profit organization. I was able to use my social media outlet to raise money in order to feed Yemenis by giving them rice, flour, oil, water, and all that. So definitely being involved in using your social media to raise awareness. I mean, it's 2021, you can do anything with that.
Yeah, raising awareness is something that people can't take for granted because it's impactful. As you've said, people actually want to visit Yemen even after watching the videos. I want to end this on two questions, all right? And the first one is, if someone came up to you and said, describe a Yemeni person, because all of our followers are not Yemeni. Some people might end up watching this. How would you describe Yemeni people?
Yemeni people are diverse like any other people. They have goals in life. They have inspirations. They have belief. They have ethics. All they want is what an average human being wants: peace, security, a bright future for them, for their kids. Not to have to deal with wars, not to be afraid to travel, not to know when the next rocket is going to hit their home, for no reason whatsoever. And that's not really too much to ask. We in the West, we take it for granted. But to them, that is luxury, to be able to live a life like that. So, Hannah mentioned the hospitality of Yemenis. When I used to go there, they insist that they invite you. And you see the situation, how they are. And they would spend whatever they have. Us, we're thinking about next month and next week. And when a person comes to their home, they make you the most important person in that household.
That is so true.
And they make you part of that family. So that's who they are. And we need to stand up with them. You guys mentioned social media. I'm appealing and I'm asking and I'm begging our young people. You guys know how to utilize social media. You guys should be all over this. Because as Omar mentioned, right now it's the worst in any country in the world. We need to do more. We need to show the world, and we need to come up with ways to raise money throughout the world for them. Right now is when they need us. This is the time. And we have the means with social media. We have the access.
We have the knowledge.
We have the knowledge. We have the equipment. All it takes is your phone. That's it. And you have the time, and you know it. Spend less time watching football. even though
I don't know how he feels about that.
but just half hour a day and say, I know some of your students, you don't have the money, but you have the ways and the means. And there are people who are looking for people to give to. Okay, they have the wealth, they have the money. So I'm challenging you to be creative and to take those stories and the pictures. All it takes is a few minutes to Google and get pictures, real, true pictures of the Yemeni kids who all you see is their bones, and create a emotional revolution inside social media. And you should be raising millions. All these Yemeni all over the U.S., all over Europe, you should be doing that. And it doesn't cost you anything. And if you ever need where to take it to, there is all kind of organization. As I've been mentioned, just Google charitable organizations in Yemen, and they come from all over. And if you don't know who, you have access to Omar, and I'll be more than happy to give him all the contact information.
Thank you very much. Before we go on final word, just want to add on anything description of a Yemeni person. Go ahead, start with you, Henna.
I think he definitely tapped on everything that needed to be said. Also, when I think of Yemenis, we're funny. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like we're like hilarious. The most generous people out there, kind. They're just really good people, very selfless. And a lot of people like kind of judge Yemenis, especially because they just think about what's going on in our country, and they try to like project that on us like individuals, when in reality like the political world is different than the individuals and the citizens of Yemen. Like we're just normal human beings with like normal, like everything you said, ethics, knowledge, all of that. But yeah.
Want to add on to it?
I just want to say, I think we're the underdogs of the Arab.
Yes.
You know, so, but hey, it's going to be our time. I have really high hopes.
Yeah.
I really do.
I do too.
But I think it needs to start from here and then go.
This specific table?
No,
or?
well,
Well, we kind of
maybe.
are. We kind
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really think because we are getting a lot of leadership and higher roles in the Yemeni, politicians or whatever. So, hey, I feel like this might be our time. Enough is enough, So, I don't know.
To wrap it all up, in my opinion, I like to use the word, I feel like Yemeni people are special. I think that if we can use everything that we just mentioned and still find a way to smile, still find a way to wake up the next day and try to make it better for everyone else, I think that is some kind of special. There's a lot of people out there, they hear about all the things that are happening with Yemeni people, and they look at us and say, like, it looks like, you're still going about your day, and it's because we are triggered that way, we are ready to go. And I think that's the special thing about Yemeni people, is that we wake up the next day, say alhamdulillah for everything, and try to attack the day like there isn't anything happening, when we all know that all this stuff is in the back of our minds, no matter who it is.
Omar, just one final fact. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال الإيمان يماني والحكمة يمانية. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال إن مع العسر يسرا. With every hardship, there's ease. So I don't want to end this in a negative way. I want to end it in a positive way. The fact that we have young people right here born in the U.S. taking ownership and saying we want to do something. We are going to be the solution, or part of the solution. We have now the biggest movements in education, in the youth, girls, boys running throughout hospitals, professionals, the criminal justice, pharmacists. Don't underestimate us.
That gave me goosebumps. I'm sorry.
And we are going to make a difference. And yes, it may start in this table, and there's thousands of tables throughout the world like this. And that's what we want to do. As long as we have a common goal, no child in Yemen should die or go to sleep hungry. That is our responsibility. وبنسأل أمام الله سبحانه وتعالى.
Inshallah. I was going to pass it on final word. He gave his final word. Henna, you want to give your final word?
Yeah, like you said, ending it off on a positive note. Just even though a lot of things are going on in Yemen, understanding that you know, there will be ease in the end, and peace and happiness, inshallah. I mean, what's inspiring is that even with everything that they're going through, they still put a smile on their face, so it's very inspiring.
Do you have a final word?
You might think you're just one person, but you might be the person that they need. So don't underestimate what you can do. Don't underestimate what you're giving. You know, it doesn't matter how much, or even if you're spreading the awareness, you're still doing something. So continue to do what you're doing, and if you haven't, start sharing, start giving, start helping.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. This was an amazing conversation. I think this is a first of many, inshallah. If you're down to come back some other time and talk about it, because we can break down each problem in Yemen and have our own show about it. You know, I feel like that's how deep it is. But this is the beginning, inshallah. We do wanted to have a conversation, but we also didn't want it to go too long to where people start to lose interest, because there's important information that's being shared here. But thank you, Henna. I appreciate you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Khalid. I appreciate you for coming as well. Again, these shows are going to be put, I mean, of course, to the Big Sis. Yeah, of course, you're always here. So thank you, Big Sis, though, for doing this as well.
Thank you for bringing us all together.
Yeah, for sure. And so, again, this is available on YouTube, Oz Media 313, and then you can later watch the show on Apple and Spotify podcast if you want to just listen to it and don't want to watch it, even though you should watch it, because like he said, this is where we already brought brightness to this room ourselves with hopefully our knowledge and everything like that. Again, thank you so much for being a part of this. I appreciate it. Thank you for those that watched and commented, and also will eventually watch and hopefully share the video, post it, and raise awareness, and you never know what can come out of it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.